What's up, everybody on YouTube? How's everybody doing? I'm doing just fine. Doing awesome, actually. So today, welcome back to another building tips and tricks video, where I'm going to be showing you guys how to build custom terrain in Minecraft. Alright, so what I have here in front of me is some pretty basic terrain work. There's not much to it. It's almost like stepping up like a staircase, which is like a no-no. You don't really want to do that. There's corners that are aligning going up, and you have some depth, right? You have some blocks overlapping here. You have some terraforming kind of just overlapping on the next layer, but overall it's pretty basic, and it's not something that you're going to want in front of your nice little house over here that you built. So yeah, one of the things that I recommend doing if we come over here is stretching it out. And what I mean by that is make depth to your terrain. So I have a video on depth, and it basically talks about how you add depth into your building. So for instance, over here, you push this wall back over here by 1, and you instantly have some depth. Now there's many ways of creating that, even in terrain. So the way we look at terrain is we start over here, we look at this steps back 1, this steps back 1, and this steps back 1 by multiple blocks. So instead of stepping up like over here, see how this goes up by 1? This 4, 2, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. It's very random. It does not just step up, like a staircase. So the other thing is with this is we're also varying the terrain as well. We're varying it in and out. We're curving it in and out. We're making a nicer hill, making a more gradual hill, because in nature things aren't perfect like this. This doesn't look good because this is almost too perfect. Whereas this over here, it's more random, it's more varying in different sizes. It doesn't just go up by 1. So that's just a little bit of a tip. Now this is still pretty basic, but this is just the start. This is something you can practice on and get a little bit better with over time. Details in your terrain. That is a big thing. One of those things is by adding rocks. Now, this isn't going to go for all your terrain work that you do. You might not want a lot of rocks in your terrain, or stones and boulders and whatnot. This is all going to vary depending on where you're at in your world, what style you're going for. But this is just the basics. This is one of those things that you can do. You can add stones. You can add rocks. You can add little pebbles on the ground to vary up the terrain. That's going to be a big word in this video, is varying it up, because we don't want it to be perfect. We want it to be random. We want it to be all over the place. And when we're building terrain, we want this to change. We want it to we want to look at something and not match something else that's over here, right? We want it to be different. We want the eye to be like looking all over and be like, oh, that stone's different from that stone, and this grass is different from that grass. And it's not just stepping up, as we were saying. So adding stones everywhere, adding different little pieces like this can really help your terrain work, and breaking up just the grass, just the blandness of the grass. Now, there's other ways that you can do that, and we'll get into that in just a second. But yeah, stones are very important. Boulders like this can really help break up that staircase effect once again, and just really make it more random. So pretty much what we're going to be doing here is, by adding a lot of flowers and a lot of foliage, it's really going to help break up the terrain even more. It's going to help make it more diverse. It's going to help it make it more random. It's going to help in all that aspects of that we've been talking about. It's going to make it more random. It's going to make it feel a little bit more natural. You would never see this in default Minecraft. This is straying away from that default terrain totally. But we are still keeping some consistency. We're keeping consistency in keeping these pink flowers around the stones. Now, again, you don't have to do this, but I'm just showing you an example of some sort of consistency in our terrain. Even though we are keeping it random, we're still having a little bit of a balance. We don't want to have all these pink flowers everywhere, where we just have them around the stones. It keeps a little bit of consistency, and it keeps it a little bit uniform. So by adding all these like grass and ferns everywhere, it also helps break up that brown in the dirt. Now you still get to see a little bit of that dirt, but over here, for instance, there's hardly a little bit. There's just a little bit of that brown poking through, which is so perfect. You don't want just one color. Now, if I go back to the last example, you can see, oh, you know, lots of brown everywhere. But if we go over here, not so much brown. And that looks so much better. This instantly makes it so much better. And with the little pops of color everywhere with the flowers, you can even have like a little water stream kind of coming down here that even break it up more so. But I really like this. I think this really breaks it up. Foliage is a great way of breaking up your terrain. So just a quick little tip here. Adding pathways going up through your custom terrain to your house is a great way of breaking it up again. Now, this wouldn't really make sense if you had, or if you didn't have a house up here, but still, it's a nice little way. You can have like a little pathway cutting up through your hill. Also, custom trees are also a great thing to add to your terrain. It's not part of the terrain necessarily to say, but it also is at the same time, because trees just add for that more naturey effect. They're a bigger plant necessarily. You know, we have all these little plants everywhere. Trees are huge. They're big, giant plants. So they also add. You'll see them in nature. You'll see them alongside hills and different things like that. So they're also a great way of breaking up your terrain. Now, my next few examples are going to be of cliffs. Now, I'm not really showing you how to build cliffs, but I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea of, I guess, how to do them. I'm not going to be showing you step by step on like how the process I take on doing it. But the basics in building cliffs is you start off with a kind of a jagged edge. You see with this layer, we kind of have a jagged edge. And then we have our second layer, which is even more broken up. We have some grass down here. And under that, we have some sort of dirt just kind of hanging down almost. And you have this kind of hanging down. And then behind that, you have some andesite as well. So andesite, the layer behind, and then stone on the layer behind. So that's the basics of it. Now, you can also go back in and add a little bit of cobblestone walls, andesite walls. You can go in and add the slabs as well if you really want to get crazy detailed with it. Like you see, I have slabs up here. And then we also have leaves kind of hanging down as well. That's the basics of it. It's not incredibly hard to do. It just takes a little bit of practice, and you'll get a feel for how these cliffs are done. And this is a very nice thing. If you have a really steep ledge, these can go on forever. Cliffs can go on forever, which is really a great thing about these. Like if you don't want to slope all the way down, right? Cliffs, they just go down. They just drop down, and they're after a certain point, it's literally just stone and a mixture of andesite. So it's a very easy thing to do. I also have another example over here of a snowy cliffside. So just to give you a little bit of an idea, your terrain is going to vary in the biomes that you're in or the biome that you're building in. So you're going to potentially use different blocks. Maybe you'll have some icicles hanging down. Maybe you'll have some like dead coral to act as like a frozen plant. So, and also like dead bushes as well, and maybe some stone and podzol just kind of all around it, adds for more detail. And the last little bit I have over here is a desert cliffside. So we have more sandstone being used at the top here, but as we get closer down to the bottom, it's less of that, and it transitions back into our andesite and stone. And then towards the bottom, it's cobblestone. But we're still using sandstone as well mixed in. Again, we're using the dead coral and dead bushes because these are, really biomes that plants really can't survive in too well. So you'll probably see a lot of dead bushes and stuff like that. And also cactuses, obviously cactuses. And maybe some leaves that are dead kind of hanging down, some brown leaves or birch leaves kind of look pretty cool as well. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for terraforming in a nutshell. Hopefully this video was helpful for you guys because I've never really had any video to teach me how to do terraforming. I sort of learned on my own. It's an easy thing. It's not too hard once you get used to it. Once you get to into the feel of it, it's a very fun thing and also a very relaxing thing to do. because it's random. There's no structure to it. It's very organic, and it's just very nice and easy to do when you have the time for it. So I highly suggest if you have like a house or a build or a castle even that you want to terraform around, it really goes a long way. It makes a house feel so much more unique and so much better than just a boring normal hillside like this over here. So you can see what we started with and what we ended up with down there. Yeah, hopefully this gave you a little bit of inspiration into building some terrain in Minecraft, and let me know down in the comments below if it did. And yeah, also don't forget to subscribe, and also like the video and comment down below what you thought. And that's gonna do it. As always, don't forget to be awesome, and I'll see you guys next time.